Have you ever wondered if the very pill you're taking to protect your heart could be quietly affecting the organ that makes you who you are? Your brain? Millions of people over 60 faithfully take cholesterol medications every day, believing they are doing everything right for their health. But true health isn't just about adding years to life. It's about preserving memory, clarity, independence, and the ability to enjoy those years to the fullest. Today, I want to share 7 important points that may change the way you think about your health and inspire you to become your own strongest advocate. When most people think about their health after the age of 60, they immediately think about their heart. They think about blood pressure numbers, cholesterol levels, blocked arteries, and the fear of heart attacks. And believe me, those concerns are important. I've spent years helping people understand the value of protecting their cardiovascular health. But today I want to challenge you to think about something that is just as important, something that often doesn't get the attention it deserves. I want you to think about your brain. Because what good is a healthy heart if the memories that define your life begin to fade? What good is living longer if you struggle to remember the names of your grandchildren, the stories you've collected over decades, or the moments that have given your life meaning? The truth is, your brain and your heart are partners. They are connected in ways many people don't fully appreciate. Every thought you have, every decision you make, every memory you treasure depends on the health of that remarkable organ sitting inside your skull. Yet too often, people focus entirely on their heart health while assuming their cognitive health will somehow take care of itself. I have seen countless individuals enter their later years with one goal in mind: avoiding a heart attack. They monitor every test result. They follow every instruction. They take every medication exactly as prescribed. But somewhere along the way, they stop asking a critical question. How is my overall health doing? How is my quality of life? How sharp is my thinking? How strong is my memory? These questions matter, because aging is not simply about survival. Aging is about maintaining the ability to live independently, make your own decisions, enjoy meaningful conversations, pursue your passions, and remain connected to the people you love. Many people believe occasional forgetfulness is simply a normal part of getting older. Sometimes it is. We all misplace our keys. We all forget a name from time to time. But there is a difference between normal aging and persistent changes that affect your daily life. There is a difference between occasionally losing your train of thought and feeling as though your mental clarity is slipping away. That is why I encourage everyone over 60 to become more aware of their cognitive health. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to your ability to focus, remember, and process information. Your brain deserves the same level of attention that you give your heart. Unfortunately, many people spend years tracking cholesterol numbers while never evaluating how they are functioning mentally. They celebrate improvements on a laboratory report while overlooking changes in their everyday experience. But health is not just a collection of numbers on a page. Health is how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Health is your ability to think clearly, solve problems, and engage fully with life. I've often told my patients that the goal is not simply to add years to life. The goal is to add life to those years. Think about the things that truly matter to you. Perhaps it's reading books and understanding every page. Perhaps it's sharing stories with your family during holidays. Perhaps it's traveling, learning new skills, volunteering, or simply enjoying meaningful conversations with friends. All of those experiences depend on a healthy, functioning brain. And here's something powerful to remember: your brain is not a passive passenger on this journey. It is actively shaping every moment of your life. It influences your emotions, your relationships, your confidence, and your sense of identity. Protecting it should never be an afterthought. I want you to become an advocate for yourself. Don't assume that every symptom is insignificant. Don't ignore persistent mental fog, difficulty concentrating, or noticeable memory changes. Ask questions, start conversations. Be curious about your health. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that healthcare is something that happens to them rather than something they actively participate in. The most successful patients I've worked with are not necessarily the ones with perfect genetics or perfect medical histories. They are the ones who stay engaged. They pay attention. They ask questions. They remain informed. Your health journey belongs to you. The choices you make today can influence how you think, feel, and function years from now. Every walk you take, every healthy meal you eat, every good night's sleep you get, and every conversation you have with your healthcare provider contributes to the bigger picture. As you move forward, I want you to remember this simple but powerful principle. Your brain matters just as much as your heart. Never allow the pursuit of one aspect of health to blind you to the importance of another. True wellness is about balance. It is about protecting the organs that keep you alive, while also protecting the abilities that make life worth living. Because a strong heart may keep your body moving forward, but a healthy brain preserves the memories, wisdom, and experiences that make that journey meaningful. And that is a gift worth protecting every single day. Now, after understanding that your brain deserves the same level of attention as your heart, we need to discuss something that many people overlook until it becomes impossible to ignore: the subtle changes in mental clarity that can occur over time. One of the most common statements I hear from people over the age of 60 is, "I'm just getting older." They say it when they forget where they left their glasses. They say it when they walk into a room and can't remember why they went there. They say it when they struggle to recall a name or lose track of a conversation. And while some occasional forgetfulness can certainly be part of normal aging, what concerns me is how often people use age as an excuse to dismiss changes that deserve attention. I want you to think about something for a moment. If you suddenly began experiencing chest discomfort every day, would you ignore it? If your blood pressure started rising significantly, would you simply shrug and say, "Well, that's what happens when you get older"? Of course not. You would pay attention. You would ask questions. You would seek answers. Yet when it comes to the brain, many people do the exact opposite. They notice increasing forgetfulness. They notice difficulty concentrating. They notice moments of confusion that never used to happen. They find themselves rereading the same paragraph multiple times because the information doesn't seem to stick. They struggle to find words during conversations. They lose focus more easily. But instead of investigating these changes, they convince themselves that it's nothing worth discussing. That mindset can be dangerous. The body has an incredible way of communicating with us. Symptoms are often messages. They are signals that something may deserve closer examination. Sometimes those signals turn out to be harmless. Sometimes they reveal a simple issue that can be corrected. But the only way to know is to pay attention. I've always encouraged people to become students of their own health. Nobody knows your body better than you do. You know how clearly you used to think. You know how sharp your memory once felt. You know your normal energy levels, your ability to focus, and your capacity to process information. That personal awareness is one of the most valuable tools you possess. The problem is that changes in mental clarity often happen gradually. They don't arrive overnight. They can appear so slowly that people adapt without realizing it. Imagine watching a sunset. The sky changes color little by little. If you stare at it continuously, you barely notice the transformation. But if you compare the sky from the beginning to the sky an hour later, the difference is remarkable. Mental changes can occur in a similar way. Because they happen gradually, many individuals fail to recognize them until the changes become significant. Family members sometimes notice first. A spouse may observe increased forgetfulness. Children may notice repeated questions. Friends may see changes in conversation patterns. These observations should never be viewed as criticism. They should be viewed as opportunities for awareness. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is honesty. Honest self-reflection allows you to identify changes early rather than waiting until they become larger challenges. I often remind people that mental clarity affects nearly every aspect of daily life. It influences financial decisions. It affects driving safety. It impacts medication management. It shapes relationships. It determines how effectively you solve problems and navigate challenges. In many ways, mental sharpness serves as the foundation upon which independence is built. That is why protecting cognitive function should never be considered optional. Now, I want to be clear about something. Experiencing occasional forgetfulness does not automatically mean something serious is happening. Life is busy. Stress affects memory. Poor sleep affects concentration. Dehydration can influence thinking. Certain health conditions can temporarily affect cognitive performance, but that is precisely why paying attention matters. When you notice a change, don't jump to conclusions. Instead, become curious. Ask yourself important questions. Have I been sleeping well? Am I managing stress effectively? Have I changed any medications recently? Am I staying physically active? Am I mentally engaged? Am I noticing a pattern, or was this an isolated incident? Curiosity is far more powerful than fear. Fear causes people to avoid problems. Curiosity encourages them to seek solutions. The individuals who age most successfully are often the ones who remain engaged in their own well-being. They don't panic when they notice something unusual, but they don't ignore it either. They investigate, they communicate, they stay informed. And there's another reason this conversation is so important. Your brain thrives on use. Just like muscles become stronger through activity, your mind benefits from regular engagement. Reading, learning new skills, solving puzzles, having meaningful conversations, exploring new interests, and staying socially connected all contribute to maintaining cognitive vitality. I have met people in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s who remain remarkably sharp because they never stopped challenging themselves mentally. They continue learning. They continue growing. They continue staying curious about the world around them. That curiosity becomes a form of protection. When you stay mentally active, you strengthen pathways that support cognitive function. You remind your brain that it still has important work to do. But none of that can happen if you stop paying attention. Awareness is where everything begins. Awareness leads to action. Action leads to better decisions. And better decisions often lead to better outcomes. So I want you to make a commitment today. Stop dismissing every change as a normal part of aging. Stop assuming that mental clarity is something that inevitably disappears with time. Start paying attention to the signals your mind may be sending. Your brain is speaking to you every single day through your thoughts, your memories, your focus, and your ability to engage with the world around you. Listen carefully, because the sooner you notice a change, the greater your opportunity to protect what matters most. And the first step toward preserving your future is paying attention to the signals you receive today. As we continue this conversation about protecting your health after 60, I want to address one of the most important lessons I have learned throughout my years of caring for patients. It is a lesson that has the power to change the way you think about medicine, aging, and your future. The lesson is simple: one size does not fit all. That may sound obvious, but it is surprising how many people approach healthcare as though there is a single solution that works perfectly for everyone. We live in a world that loves simple answers. People want to know the best diet, the best exercise program, the best medication, the best supplement, or the best strategy for staying healthy. But the human body is far more complex than that. Every person sitting here today has a unique story. You have your own genetics. You have your own medical history. You have your own lifestyle habits, strengths, challenges, experiences, and goals. Even if two people are the same age and have similar health conditions, their bodies can respond very differently to the exact same treatment. I have seen this firsthand countless times. One patient may thrive with a particular treatment plan. Another patient may experience challenges with that same approach. One individual may tolerate a medication exceptionally well for years. Another may notice changes that require adjustments. Neither person is wrong. Neither person's experience is invalid. They are simply different. And that is precisely why personalized healthcare matters. Too often, people assume that if something is commonly prescribed, commonly recommended, or commonly accepted, then it must automatically be right for them forever. But healthcare should never operate on autopilot. Your body changes over time. The needs you had at 40 are not necessarily the needs you have at 60. The needs you have at 60 may not be the same needs you have at 75 or 80. Aging is not a static process. It is a journey of continuous change. Your metabolism changes. Your activity levels change. Your sleep patterns change. Your nutritional needs change. Even the way your body processes medications can change. Yet many people continue following the exact same health plan year after year without ever asking whether it still serves their current needs. I encourage you to think differently. Instead of asking what works for everyone else, start asking what works best for me. That question has tremendous power, because healthcare is not a competition. It is not about comparing yourself to your neighbors, your friends, or people you see on television. It is about understanding your own body and making decisions that support your individual well-being. One of the most common mistakes people make is assuming that health recommendations should never be questioned. They receive advice years ago and they continue following it indefinitely without reevaluating whether circumstances have changed. But good healthcare is dynamic. It evolves. It adapts. It responds to new information. I often tell people that their health plan should be treated like a living document rather than a permanent contract. It should be reviewed regularly. It should reflect your current situation, not simply your past. Think about how much your life has changed over the years. Your career may have changed. Your responsibilities may have changed. Your priorities may have changed. Your relationships may have changed. Why should your healthcare remain frozen in time? One of the most valuable things you can do is develop an ongoing dialogue with your healthcare team, not a one-time conversation, not a conversation that happens only when a problem arises. An ongoing partnership built on communication and trust. Ask questions, seek understanding, share your experiences honestly. If something feels different, mention it. If you notice changes, discuss them. If you have concerns, voice them. Your observations matter. In fact, some of the most important information in healthcare comes not from a laboratory test or a medical scan, but from the patient sitting across the room describing what they are experiencing. You are not just a recipient of healthcare, you are an active participant, and the more engaged you become, the more personalized your care can be. I have often found that the healthiest individuals are not necessarily the ones with perfect test results. They are the ones who remain involved in their own journey. They pay attention, they stay informed. They understand that health is not something handed to them. It is something they help create through their daily choices and ongoing awareness. There is another important reason why personalization matters. Your goals matter. For one person, the primary goal may be maintaining the energy needed to travel and explore the world. For another, it may be staying active enough to play with grandchildren. For someone else, it may be preserving independence and mental sharpness for as long as possible. These goals influence decisions, they shape priorities, and they help determine what success truly looks like. Healthcare should never focus solely on extending life. It should focus on supporting the life you actually want to live. That distinction is important, because a treatment plan that aligns perfectly with one person's goals may not align with another person's vision of health and happiness. This is why blanket solutions rarely tell the entire story. Your health deserves individual attention. Your circumstances deserve consideration. Your experiences deserve to be heard. The reality is that no chart, guideline, recommendation, or statistic can fully capture the uniqueness of a human being. Those tools are valuable. They provide direction. They offer insight. But they are only part of the picture. The rest of the picture is you, your body, your experiences, your priorities, your future. And when you begin viewing healthcare through that lens, something remarkable happens. You stop becoming a passive observer and start becoming an active advocate for yourself. You become more engaged, more informed, more empowered, and that empowerment often leads to better decisions, stronger communication, and a deeper understanding of what truly supports your long-term well-being. Because the most effective healthcare plan is not the one designed for everyone, it is the one designed for you. As we move forward, I want to talk about something that can make a tremendous difference in your health journey, yet many people feel uncomfortable doing it. In fact, some people avoid it entirely because they worry they might seem difficult, disrespectful, or challenging. I'm talking about asking questions. Over the years, I've noticed something fascinating. The patients who tend to achieve the best long-term outcomes are often not the ones who simply nod their heads and leave the office. They are the ones who engage in conversations. They are the ones who seek understanding. They are the ones who ask thoughtful questions about their health, their treatments, and their future. And I want you to understand something very important. Asking questions is not a sign of distrust. It is a sign of responsibility. Your health is one of the most valuable assets you possess. It affects every aspect of your life. It influences your independence, your relationships, your energy, your mobility, your confidence, and your ability to enjoy the years ahead. Given how important it is, why wouldn't you ask questions? Yet many people have been conditioned to believe that they should simply follow instructions without discussion. They assume that if a recommendation has been made, there is no need for further conversation. But healthcare was never meant to be a one-way street. The best healthcare relationships are partnerships. They involve communication. They involve understanding. They involve collaboration. And every meaningful partnership requires dialogue. I often tell people that they should never leave a medical appointment feeling confused. If you don't understand why you're taking something, if you don't understand the expected benefits, ask. If you don't understand the potential risks, ask. If you're wondering whether there are alternatives, ask. The simple act of asking questions can transform your relationship with your own health. Think about it this way. Imagine hiring someone to manage your finances. Would you blindly sign documents without understanding them? Would you invest your life savings without asking where the money is going? Probably not. You would seek clarity. You would want information. You would want confidence in the decisions being made. Your health deserves the same level of attention. Unfortunately, many people take medications for years without fully understanding why they were prescribed in the first place. They know the name on the bottle. They know how many pills to take. But beyond that, they know very little. That lack of understanding creates distance between the person and their health care. Knowledge creates connection. The more you understand about your health, the more empowered you become. And empowerment matters because your health is not static. What made sense 10 years ago may not make sense today. What was appropriate at age 50 may deserve reevaluation at age 70. Your body changes, your circumstances change, your priorities change. Healthcare should evolve alongside those changes. That's why I encourage people to think of every medical appointment as an opportunity for a conversation rather than a transaction. Too often, people walk into an office with concerns but leave without mentioning them. Maybe they feel rushed. Maybe they assume their question isn't important. Maybe they don't want to appear bothersome. But here's what I've learned. The question you hesitate to ask is often the question that matters most. Sometimes a single conversation can uncover information that significantly improves a person's quality of life. Sometimes a simple question leads to a better understanding of symptoms. Sometimes it reveals an adjustment that can make daily life easier. And sometimes it provides peace of mind. Never underestimate the value of peace of mind. When you understand your health, fear often loses its power. Uncertainty creates anxiety. Understanding creates confidence. Now, I want to address another common misconception. Many people believe that once a medication is started, it automatically becomes a permanent part of life. They assume there is never a reason to revisit the discussion. But healthcare should never operate on assumptions. Every treatment should periodically be reviewed. Every recommendation should be considered within the context of your current health status. Every decision should continue serving a meaningful purpose. That doesn't mean stopping treatments on your own. It means having informed discussions. There is a tremendous difference between blindly accepting something and thoughtfully understanding it. One approach leaves you passive. The other makes you an active participant. I want you to be an active participant. I want you to know why decisions are being made. I want you to understand how those decisions fit into your broader health goals. And most importantly, I want you to feel comfortable speaking up, because your voice matters. Your experiences matter. Your observations matter. No laboratory test can tell the entire story of how you feel. No medical chart can fully capture your daily experiences. Only you can provide that information. You are the expert on your own life. You know when something feels different. You know when your energy changes. You know when your concentration shifts. You know when your quality of life improves or declines. Those observations are valuable pieces of information that deserve to be shared. The strongest healthcare relationships are built on mutual respect. Healthcare professionals bring knowledge, training, and experience. Patients bring personal insight, lived experience, and daily awareness. When those two perspectives come together, better decisions become possible. I have always believed that informed patients make stronger partners in their own care. Not because they know everything, not because they have all the answers, but because they remain engaged. They remain curious. They remain invested in their future. And that investment pays dividends over time. The reality is that nobody will ever care about your future more than you do. Nobody will ever have more at stake than you do. That is why your involvement is so important. Never be afraid to ask for clarification. Never be afraid to seek understanding. Never be afraid to participate in decisions that affect your life, because the path to better health does not begin with blindly following instructions. It begins with understanding the reasons behind them. Now, after everything we've discussed about paying attention to your brain, recognizing changes in mental clarity, understanding that healthcare must be personalized, and asking questions about the decisions that affect your future, I want to talk about something that is both incredibly powerful and often underestimated. I want to talk about the choices you make every single day. Because no matter what treatments you receive, no matter what advice you follow, and no matter how advanced modern medicine becomes, there is one truth that remains constant. Your daily habits have extraordinary influence over your long-term health. In my years of working with patients, I've seen people spend countless hours worrying about things they cannot control while paying very little attention to the things they can. They worry about genetics. They worry about age. They worry about family history. And while those factors certainly matter, They often overlook the incredible power they still possess through their everyday decisions. You may not be able to change the past. You may not be able to choose your genetics, but every day you have the opportunity to influence your future. That opportunity begins with lifestyle. Now, when people hear the word lifestyle, they sometimes imagine drastic changes, impossible routines, or unrealistic expectations. They picture spending hours in a gym, following strict diets, or completely transforming their lives overnight. But that's not what I'm talking about. Real health is rarely built through dramatic actions. More often, it is built through consistent actions. Small decisions repeated day after day eventually become powerful results. Think about it this way. A single healthy meal will not transform your health. A single walk around the neighborhood will not guarantee a longer life. One good night's sleep will not solve every problem. But when those actions are repeated consistently over months and years, they create something remarkable. They create momentum, and momentum has the power to change lives. One of the first things I encourage people to consider is movement. The human body was designed to move. Yet many people become increasingly sedentary as they age. They sit more, they walk less. They gradually allow inactivity to become the norm. The problem is that inactivity affects far more than muscles and joints. Movement supports circulation. It supports cardiovascular health. It supports brain function. It supports mood. It supports energy levels. It even supports confidence. You don't need to become an athlete. You don't need to run marathons. You simply need to move more than you move now. A daily walk can be one of the most powerful investments you make in your future, not because it is dramatic, but because it is sustainable. And sustainable habits are the ones that produce lasting results. Nutrition is another area where small improvements can create enormous benefits. I often remind people that food is more than fuel. Every meal is information your body receives. Every bite sends signals. Those signals influence energy levels, inflammation, metabolism, cardiovascular health, and even cognitive performance. The goal isn't perfection. Perfection is rarely sustainable. The goal is progress. Can you eat a little more thoughtfully today than you did yesterday? Can you choose foods that nourish rather than simply satisfy cravings? Can you create habits that support both your heart and your brain? Those small improvements accumulate over time. Then there is sleep, which may be one of the most overlooked pillars of health. Many people treat sleep as though it is optional. They sacrifice it for television, stress, worry, or endless distractions. Yet sleep is one of the body's most important recovery processes. During sleep, your body repairs itself. Your brain processes information. Memories are strengthened. Mental clarity is restored. Energy reserves are replenished. When sleep suffers, nearly every aspect of health can suffer alongside it. I have seen people focus intensely on medications, while completely ignoring poor sleep habits that affect them every single day. Never underestimate the power of quality rest. It is not laziness. It is maintenance. It is preparation for tomorrow. And then we come to something that many people overlook entirely: stress. Stress is not just an emotional experience. It is a physical experience. Your body responds to stress in very real ways. Persistent stress can influence sleep, concentration, mood, blood pressure, decision-making, and overall well-being. Yet many people accept chronic stress as a permanent part of life. They carry it for years without realizing the toll it may be taking. I encourage people to develop practices that help them manage stress effectively. That might involve prayer. It might involve meditation. It might involve time in nature. It might involve meaningful conversations with loved ones. It might involve hobbies that bring joy and purpose. The specific activity matters less than the result. What matters is creating space for recovery. Your mind needs recovery just as much as your body does. And finally, I want to talk about something that science continues to confirm again and again: the importance of human connection. Healthy aging is not just about physical health. It is also about relationships. The people around you matter. The conversations you have matter. The sense of belonging you experience matters. Isolation can quietly affect both emotional and cognitive well-being. Connection, on the other hand, provides stimulation, support, purpose, and resilience. Stay engaged with family. Stay connected with friends. Remain involved in your community. Keep having conversations. Keep sharing experiences. Keep building memories. These interactions are not distractions from health. They are part of health. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, something becomes very clear. Your future is not determined by a single decision. It is shaped by thousands of small decisions made over time. Every walk, every meal, every hour of sleep, every effort to manage stress, every meaningful conversation. These choices may seem ordinary in the moment, but together they create the foundation upon which healthy aging is built. And while medicine can be an important tool, never forget that some of the most powerful tools for protecting your heart, supporting your brain, and preserving your quality of life are already within your reach. Because the habits you practice every day ultimately become the future you experience tomorrow. As we continue this journey together, I want to focus on something that has become more important than ever before, especially in a world overflowing with information, opinions, advertisements, and endless advice. It is a simple idea, but one that has the power to transform the way you approach your health for the rest of your life. Stay informed and stay proactive. I cannot tell you how many times I have met individuals who assumed that good health was simply a matter of luck. They believed that if problems were going to happen, they would happen regardless of what they did. They viewed aging as a process they had little control over. But after spending years caring for people from all walks of life, I can tell you something with confidence. The people who age most successfully are often the people who stay engaged. They remain curious. They continue learning. They continue asking questions. They refuse to become passive observers in their own lives. And that mindset makes a tremendous difference. You see, there are two ways to approach health. The first is reactive. You wait until a problem appears. You wait until symptoms become severe. You wait until something forces your attention. Then you respond. The second approach is proactive. You stay informed, you pay attention, you look ahead, you make decisions today that support the future you want tomorrow. When I look at the healthiest and most resilient people I've encountered, I see a common pattern. They don't wait for a crisis before they become interested in their health. They remain involved long before a problem develops. They understand that prevention is often far more powerful than intervention. Think about your car for a moment. Most people understand the importance of routine maintenance. They change the oil before the engine fails. They replace worn tires before they become dangerous. They address small issues before they become expensive repairs. Yet many people fail to apply that same logic to their own bodies. They postpone checkups. They ignore warning signs. They avoid conversations. They assume everything is fine until it clearly isn't. But your health deserves more attention than your automobile. Your future deserves more planning than your vehicle. And one of the most effective ways to protect that future is through education. Now, when I say education, I'm not suggesting that you need a medical degree. I'm not suggesting that you spend hours studying scientific journals. What I am suggesting is that you maintain a healthy curiosity about the factors that influence your well-being. Learn about healthy aging. Learn about nutrition. Learn about physical activity. Learn about sleep. Learn about stress management. Learn about cognitive health. The more you understand, the more empowered you become. Knowledge has a unique ability to replace fear with confidence. Many people fear what they do not understand. When they hear medical terms, they become anxious. When they receive new information, they feel overwhelmed. When they face decisions, they feel uncertain. But understanding changes everything. When you understand why something matters, you become more motivated to act. When you understand how your choices influence your future, you make better decisions. When you understand the connection between your habits and your health, you gain a greater sense of control. And control is incredibly important. Not because you can control everything. You can't. None of us can. But there is tremendous value in focusing on what you can influence rather than obsessing over what you cannot. You can influence your daily habits. You can influence your activity level. You can influence your sleep patterns. You can influence the questions you ask. You can influence how engaged you remain in your own care. Those choices matter. In fact, they often matter more than people realize. One of the greatest mistakes I see is when individuals stop learning simply because they reach a certain age. Somewhere along the way, society created the misconception that growth belongs to the young. I disagree completely. I've met 80-year-olds who were still learning new skills. I've met people in their 70s who started exercising for the first time. I've met individuals in their 90s who remained intellectually curious and deeply engaged with the world around them. Their age did not limit their desire to learn, and that curiosity became one of their greatest strengths. The human mind thrives on engagement. It thrives on challenge. It thrives on discovery. When you stop learning, you begin shrinking your world. When you remain curious, your world continues expanding. That curiosity doesn't have to be complicated. Read books, listen to educational programs, have conversations with knowledgeable people, explore new ideas, ask questions during appointments, seek understanding rather than assumptions. Small efforts repeated consistently can produce remarkable growth. There is another reason why staying informed is so important. Healthcare continues to evolve. New research emerges. New information becomes available. New perspectives develop. What we understand today may be more advanced than what we understood years ago. That doesn't mean chasing every trend or believing every headline. Quite the opposite. It means becoming a thoughtful consumer of information. It means being willing to learn while also maintaining healthy skepticism. Not every claim deserves your trust. Not every headline deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves equal weight. That is why critical thinking remains essential. Ask yourself questions. Where is this information coming from? Is it supported by evidence? Does it align with what trusted professionals recommend? Am I seeking facts or simply reacting to fear? These questions can help you navigate an increasingly complex world. And perhaps most importantly, staying proactive means recognizing that your future is being shaped right now, not next year, not someday, today. Every choice you make becomes part of the foundation you're building for the years ahead. Every healthy habit strengthens that foundation. Every effort to learn strengthens that foundation. Every question you ask strengthens that foundation. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need all the answers. You simply need a willingness to remain engaged, a willingness to keep learning, a willingness to take ownership of your future, because the moment you stop viewing health as something that happens to you and start viewing it as something you actively participate in, everything begins to change. You become stronger. You become wiser. You become more confident. And most importantly, you become better prepared for whatever lies ahead. Because informed people make empowered decisions, and empowered decisions create healthier futures.